Easily the biggest news story of the year so far. By far, just landed and everyone's just shrugging their shoulders. This would be one of the most significant geopolitical events in years, if not decades, if we had a real news media. We don't. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, yes, one of the few journalists left with any shred of integrity, Seymour Hersh, just published the definitive account of what happened to the Nord Stream pipelines when they were sabotaged and destroyed back in September. Spoiler alert, no. For no discernible reason, Russia didn't blow up their own pipelines. According to Hersh's sources, the explosives were planted in June 2022 by US Navy divers under the guise of the Baltops 22 NATO exercise, and then detonated 3 months later with a remote signal sent by a sonar buoy. The agenda? To make Europe completely dependent on American energy and escalate the war in Ukraine. One source told Hersh that the plotters knew the covert operation was a, quote, act of war, with some in the CIA and State Department warning, quote, don't do this, it's stupid and will be a political nightmare if it comes out.
It's probably the most comprehensive news story you will read this year. Seymour Hersh on Substack, you should read it, and it recounts in detail meetings with the National Security Advisor at the White House, where this was planned, exactly what explosives were used, how they were triggered, by what aircraft, on what day. So many details in here that it is not possible that it's not true. It is true.
Of course, despite how they're going to spin it, none of this is outlandish information. To claim that only Russia carries out false flags is beyond naive. Former Pentagon advisor Douglas Macgregor said the US was the most likely culprit. The CIA also warned Germany about the impending attack weeks before it happened, and both Joe Biden and Victoria Nuland openly telegraphed that the pipelines would be taken out long before the explosions.
I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that? Exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Senator Mike Lee says he checked with colleagues and none of them were briefed on the issue, adding, quote, if it turns out to be true, we've got a huge problem. This is easily one of the biggest geopolitical stories since the invasion of Iraq, and yet the legacy media has devoted over 1,000 times more coverage to a Chinese spy balloon flying over America. This week in foreign policy, errant balloon, major provocation, could incite war. Blown up pipeline, not a provocation, could never incite war. The media blithely amplified the White House's response that the entire Hersh story was utterly false. Just accepted their denial at face value. What does that tell you? That the media is, as ever, in bed with the military-industrial complex. They don't want this war to end. They want to prolong it for as long as possible, no matter how many bodies of young men or innocent civilians pile up on both sides. No matter how many serious warnings we hear about the planet careening to the brink of World War III. No, forget about that. That doesn't matter. And look! Zelensky's in a flight suit! Many of you have asked how you can support me on a regular basis. Well, here's the best way, by getting an organic coffee subscription at pjwshop.com. I'm only joking. Obviously, I'm going to say it tastes good, but it does. Try it for yourself. This breakfast blend coffee is organically roasted, meaning it's less acidic and tart than other blends. It's perfectly smooth and it goes down a treat. You've seen how much I get demonetized all the friggin' time, but by getting a coffee subscription, you get a great tasting coffee, something that you're going to buy anyway, and you help me continue my work. It's a win-win. You can do a one-time purchase to try it out, or subscribe to get the coffee delivered to you on a schedule of your choosing. You can amend or cancel that schedule at any time. So click the link in the description below or go direct to pjwshop.com to check out the other great merch on offer.